Hello and welcome, this is Melskinner, and we're back with some more Wargame Red Dragon. I covered in a previous series the first campaign of this game, the Busan Pocket campaign, and it has been quite a while since last I played. I did all the recordings for that series before I even uploaded any of those videos to YouTube, so for me it's been a very long time since I played the game, so there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process, but we're going to move on to the next campaign, Bear versus Dragon, and this is a real interesting conflict because it's a conflict that very well could have happened, but I'm going to let the game kind of give us the information about the conflict itself. So this is 1979. We're going to be playing as China, and we're going to be going against the Soviet Union, but also North Korea is going to be involved in this conflict. So as the war between China and Vietnam escalates, so that was a real conflict, to a new level, the USSR starts amassing troops at the Chinese border with the obvious intent to stab China in the back. Can China really wait to be crushed by the hammer and sickle, or should the dragon fight the bear while the bear's preparations are still incomplete? So, historically, there was a war between China and Vietnam in this period of time, and in real life, the Soviet Union and China did not come to a conflict, but in this alternate history, we're going to see that conflict come. All right, let's go ahead and launch.
November 3rd, 1978. Vietnam and the USSR signed a mutual defense treaty aimed at containing China's influence. December 25th, 1978. 2 months later, with Soviet support, Vietnam launches a full-scale invasion of Cambodia, China's ally. January 1st, 1979. Deng Xiaoping meets Jimmy Carter, seeking American support against Vietnam. February 15th, 1979. China terminates its 30-year-old Treaty of Friendship, Alliance, and Mutual Assistance with the USSR. February 17th, 1979. China invades Vietnam and warns the USSR not to interfere. February 1979. Nonetheless, the USSR sends warships and naval troops to Vietnamese waters and calls in mechanized troops to the Sino-Soviet border. Late February 1979. With its offensive bogged down in Vietnam, China realizes it can't afford to let the USSR get the upper hand and stab it in the back. March 2nd, 1979. Taking advantage of the absence of a main naval squadron and the incomplete buildup of Soviet forces, the PLA launches a surprise attack. Their objective, seizing and destroying the main Soviet supply base at Vladivostok.
All right, well, there we go. Comrade Major, our informers are adamant the USSR is planning to attack us in a few weeks. The Politburo has therefore decided to launch a surprise offensive and capture Soviet strategic ports. You will thus attack the Soviet units as soon as possible, and you will capture Vladivostok before the enemy can react. This will enable our North Korean allies to lend us a hand. And you will continue eastwards to secure Cavallero without losing Vladivostok. The whole operation will have to be carried out in less than 18 days. I strongly advise you to capture the nearest enemy airfields, land your aircraft there, and neutralize the enemy's air superiority. Major Zhao Yan, would you care to add anything to this? Thank you, General. Major, I want to remind you that the spearhead of your offensive is an armored regiment that will have to be reorganized after a long trip. You will thus have to make the decision to attack immediately with your infantry battalions or to attack the next day with the support of your tanks. This is an important decision. Take time to make it properly. All right, well, here we are. So they gave us a lot of information there, and the main objective we have at this stage is to get this port here. So Vladivostok right there. There is a naval unit, enemy naval unit right outside, and it looks like we do get some political power points if we were able to capture this naval sector. So that'd be good. We do have our own naval forces here. Now, I have taken a little bit of a look at this campaign, just taking a look at what the forces were like and what have you before I started this campaign. But that was actually quite a while ago, so I am going a little bit off of memory, but at least I have an idea of how the campaign is laid out. We do have our main land force here, and as they mentioned, we have a tank regiment, but because they only have 2 initiative points, it would cost us 2 initiative to move in here. We wouldn't be able to attack with them this turn. That would be our main force. We do have supporting infantry battalions, so we have this infantry battalion here, and then we have a close recon company. So these 2 could attack this turn, but they have no cohesion. Neither one of them do, and obviously the tanks wouldn't be involved. So the only place we can attack is here, and just like with previous campaigns, we have certain areas that we can move around in, and some that we cannot. Now, I did learn from that first campaign that if there are lines like this that are slashed through, these are areas that your enemy cannot move in. So, fortunately for us, our enemy cannot actually attack us into any of these zones. So this political power points is always going to be safe for us. So that's good. Now, we do have an issue where the enemy definitely has more political power points than we do, giving them quite a bit of an edge. They also have a lot more forces out on the map right now than we do, which again gives them quite a bit of an edge. So, as you can see, getting Vladivostok is going to give us 10. That's going to be worth quite a lot. And we also have some other strategic points here and here that give us 5 apiece. And outside of the naval sector, I don't think I see anything else out there at the moment. But our ultimate goal is to capture here, and we have 18 turns to do that, and there's really only one path to get there. We can't come in and capture this one airfield, but we can capture a lot of the other airfields, and the briefing did mention that that would be a really good idea. We do have an airfield of our own here, and we have another one here. The only plane that we currently have out on the map is this one, but it is a naval attack squadron, so they won't really help us over here. As we can see, our enemy has a lot of air superiority that they can use against me, but considering that I have the first turn, I have the initiative right now, they can't use their air power against me at this particular moment. So this is where that decision they were talking about, the very important decision you have to make. You move all your forces in and wait for the tanks to get their initiative back up to launch the attack, or do you have your battalion go in and attack with no cohesion against the enemy? So let's take a look at what the enemy has. They have a border regiment, and they have an anti-tank company. And I should also look at my own forces as well, but we'll do that in a second. So the border regiment is going to consist of, well, you got your typical stuff, forward operating bases. Yeah, they have 4 command vehicles here, and a bunch of supply vehicles as well. They have 40 of these infantry that are going to be in these vehicles. Now, one thing I will point out, if you are familiar with the Chinese-Soviet relationship, it kind of deteriorated actually in the 60s. So before that point in time, the Soviets were aiding the Chinese with technology, but when they started having a falling out in the 60s, that kind of ceased. So the Soviet Union does have quite a bit of a technological advantage over the Chinese. Historically, or in real life, the advantage that the Chinese had were in numbers. They had a lot of manpower to use, and that did frighten the Soviet Union quite a bit. With that being said, though, we should just focus on what's actually in the campaign. All right, we also have... These are anti-tank units here. So mostly infantry here, and then they've got some scout vehicles. And then the anti-tank company is going to consist of these anti-tank vehicles. So they do have quite a bit of anti-tank capability, but one thing you'll note is they have no anti-air at all, 0. So we may be able to take advantage of them in that regard. Now, our own forces, the infantry battalion, so we're not going to have the numbers that they have. They had, what, 73 units and 22 units. So one battalion only has 29 units. We have the infantry. And cost-wise, these guys are very cheap. They only cost, what, 5 plus the 15 for their transport, so that's going to be 20 total. Whereas the Soviet infantry is 10 plus 15, 25. So a little bit of a more expensive unit that we're going to be facing. It looks like they have more weaponry as well. Now, this being a border regiment, I don't think it's that elite of a unit. It only has 3 morale versus, well, we also have 3 morale on our unit, so no advantage real there. Our vehicles, our transports have some anti-tank missiles that could be pretty good, as well as some 73mm cannons. Don't have very good... AP power is not bad. I mean, we're not going to be facing really any heavy armor here. Yeah, that should penetrate anything that they would have over here. Let's just check their anti-tank. Yeah, they don't really have much in the way. Of course, our vehicles don't have armor either, so they'd be able to penetrate us as well. What kind of range those missiles have? Pretty good. All right. So that could be our advantage there is our transports. We also have, looks like some artillery support. And then our recon is just company, so it's only 6 units, not a lot. We have 4 recon vehicles here, and then we have some recon infantry. So that's not going to be too much of a help to us. And the one thing you'll note is we do not have any logistics vehicles at all. We just have our 1 command vehicle. So there will be at a little bit of a disadvantage as well. Now, a tank unit is much more elite, at least as far as what we get. So we've got 4 command vehicles. We have a lot more. Well, we actually have cargo vehicles. We have some anti-air. Minimal, but at least it's something. And then we have the tanks themselves, which we have 40 of. All right, so we've taken a look at what our forces are. Down here, we have some Marines, but that's going to be mostly used for the naval landing over here. At least that would be the idea. We have Naval Forces. I'm not going to really take too much of a look at this just yet. I think in the first video, we're going to focus on this offensive, and then we're going to move on to this. I personally think this is the more important first turn event because we can use these naval forces to maybe destroy these naval forces and get this political power points, and maybe I don't think we'd be able to pull off the naval landing because they do have some pretty significant forces here, but we could at least set it up for the future. If we could capture this, we may be able to do an offensive from here to here and then assisted by the Marines and capture our first objective. We do have that time limit of 18 turns. All right. So let's take a look at what forces we have. We have 30 points to work with, and we have Naval Forces, which I am probably going to want to spawn at least one of these. So we have both North Korean and Chinese forces available to us, and they are both fleets that we could use here, both of which cost 10. So we might want to hold those in that amount of points in reserve. Let's take a look at the land forces, though. So we've got an infantry regiment. Now, let's see where we actually spawn these units in. So if I were to click on this guy, I'm going to spawn back here. So not likely we're going to be able to, well, for sure we're not going to be able to use any of these units in this first turn, just so that I am not going to accidentally deploy. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so this unit is an infantry regiment. And it is going to consist... Do we have North Korean land forces as well? We do. So we actually have 3 choices here. We have the Long Wang Attack Force, we have the People's Army Reserve, and then we have the Korean Marines. And if I remember correctly, the People's Army Reserve actually has some pretty elite units. This tank regiment, I think, is pretty good. Long Wang, his attack force is not... I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. But I think the more elite units are in the People's Army here. And then the Korean Marines, it's just more Marines, so that would be helping us with this naval landing here, as this is the only naval landing zone. So I don't think we're going to worry about those guys too much. We also have the Air Forces, but let's take a look at what we've got. So again, we've got the Infantry Regiment, which is going to cost us 15. We've got an Artillery Company. Now, I'd have to look at the individual forces here to be sure, but a regiment might be good because we don't have a lot of forces here. We have an anti-air company. We don't have that much in the way of anti-air at the moment, so this could be valuable as well. As we can see, the enemy has a lot of air force deployed out here. We have air recon company, so that's just going to be... What are they equipped with? Let's see. They're not equipped with anything. They have no weapons, so that's just for recon purposes. And then we have an anti-tank company as well, which is going to be... Yeah, mostly these lighter vehicles. Okay, this is a little bit more armored, but yeah, that armor's not great. So, mostly we'd just be using these. Take out some armor. Let's see what we've got for the People's Army Reserve. So, we've got an infantry battalion. We have attack helicopters. Now, I may want to spawn this early, because as we mentioned, there's no anti-air in here, so the helicopters could be very good for us. Oh, unfortunately, we wouldn't have much initiative, so we wouldn't be able to use them this turn. So that would be the main thing of why I would want to use these guys, because even though they deploy way back here, they would have enough initiative to reach out and go here. But at spawn-in, these guys don't start with anything more than 2 initiative points. I think that's probably on purpose, because these guys are supposed to be in reserve. So, unfortunately, we cannot use this force, although that would be very valuable to us if we could. Then, as I mentioned, we have this powerful tank regiment unit as well. All right, well, let's move on to the air forces, see what we've got. So, again, we have North Korean and Chinese forces. So, we've got some J7s here, which are going to be air superiority, I believe. Yeah, let's take a look at that. So, we've got some cannons, and we've got, air-to-air missiles, which are going to attack helicopters and airplanes. We've got the Q5s, which look like they're ground attacks. So we've got cluster bombs, but we do have air-to-air missiles as well. These are only 10, so that's not a bad cost. But taking a look at this, yeah, so the air-to-air missiles can attack both helicopters and airplanes, so they're pretty versatile. The cluster bombs are very effective against armor. And then we have cannons as well. Then moving on, we've got one more squadron here, which are J5s. And that's going to be, looks like napalm bombs too. And then we've got our cannons as well. So we could use that air-to-air or against ground targets, just like any other cannon. Now the Korean forces, I'm not sure. Can we deploy them anywhere or just in the Korean zone? I would imagine just the Korean zone. Let's see. Oh no, it doesn't let me deploy the Korean forces here. So again, just so I don't accidentally deploy them, let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, let's see what we've got for the Korean Air Forces. So we've got a MiG-21, which is going to be a ground attack setup. So we've got, looks like anti-armor missiles. Okay, and then we've got cannons as well. And then we've got some F-7Bs, which are going to be air superiority. So out of these, the thing that I would be drawn to immediately would be the Q-51 here. So this has both air attack and ground attack potential, meaning that it's pretty good, and 10 points is not bad. So it does have plenty of initiative and pretty good range with that initiative. Matter of fact, most of our planes have pretty good range. What about the Korean forces? Okay, so our planes have pretty good range, more than we saw in the Korean offensive, or I should say the Korean campaign. All right, so as I said, I think the Q-51s are what I'm going to go with. Yeah, because that seems to be the most effective force that we could use here. So if we wanted to go for an attack this turn, that's what I'd do. If I just do that, anything else I deploy, we wouldn't be able to use this turn. So I think we should hold on that and then consider our naval action over here. So you have an anti-ship air squadron here, and then we have our ships themselves. They only have 2 initiatives, so I would imagine we could not attack with them this turn. So it would just be deploying them for next turn anyway. So let's do the main offensive here. So I think we should move in the infantry battalion, the recon company, and the tank regiment, all 3. And I really think we should go for the attack this turn, because I could take advantage of the fact that they do not have anti-air in these units and maybe try and knock these guys out. Now, they're going to have cohesion bonus on me a lot, and that's going to make this difficult. But if we can get a good setup, I think this is the right choice. So, as I said, I think that this air squadron here is our best choice. How much do these planes cost? Just so I can keep that in mind for the ground attack, because that's a real factor in this one, is can they actually be deployed? 90 points is a lot, especially if you have no cohesion. The J5s, on the other hand, are 60 points, so that would be a lot more affordable to me. I could get more planes out on the field. These guys are air attackers, so that wouldn't help me. What about, this would be our ground attacker, wouldn't it? The MiG-21? That I would imagine, oh, it's only 65. That's actually not bad, especially as we have these anti-tank missiles that would have a lot of range on them. That's actually very tempting. It would, I think that the Q-51 would be a more effective unit, but obviously it's more effective because it costs more. So, oh, okay, so the J7s here, they are pretty cheap as well. All right, well, you know what? Let's go with the Korean planes then, because again, we'd be able to get more of them out, and they'd still be just as effective. Now, The problem, though, with that idea is that my opponent has mostly infantry. So in that regard, I don't know. I still think these are the better choice. We could also go with the J5s with the napalm. That would be very effective against infantry. We've seen that. It would be as effective against their vehicles, though. So that would be the main concern that I would have, is that their vehicles would be... I mean, this could be just as effective. So this is where we're really going to have to carefully consider. Okay. Well, they both cost the same to deploy. I mean, as far as in the campaign map. I still think this is the better effective force here, these planes, but I have to consider the lack of cohesion. So in this regard, I think against infantry, the most effective is going to be the J5s with the napalm bombs. And we could also strafe things with our cannons. So I think I'm going to end up going this route just because it'd be an easier deploy. We could get more planes out. So go ahead and deploy that unit, and we're going to put them in here. Now, the main concern, though, is that if they come after me with a lot of their air power next turn, I don't really have any anti-air defense except for the tank regiment. So this really has to work for me. I could always deploy more planes in this and go for broke. Like, for example, right now, we only have one naval squadron in here. Maybe... My initial idea was get more naval forces, so I would deploy both of these fleet and we'd overwhelm, because I think that this objective here is just so important that I think we really do want to put out as many numbers as we can to try and overwhelm these guys. So I still think that's the right move, because this is worth political power points. It's something we could achieve within the first couple turns. We'd have the backup of these guys. I think that's the right move. So I think I'm going to stick with my guns here, and we're going to go ahead and start this battle. All right, here's hoping that this works out for me. So we have no cohesion, so we're not going to get any points. We're going to start with a decent number, though. Well, actually, no, what's our starting? 1,000 points, and they get 1150. So they have a slight edge here. This is going to be the main factor. All right, so we definitely want to capture one of these points, either Delta or Charlie, preferably Charlie. The problem with that is that's not a deploy zone. And I only have one command vehicle. So we're going to have a lot of this just have to work with what we have to use in this initial engagement. Honestly, we might just go for inflicting casualties on our opponent and bringing down their cohesion. Maybe going for a draw, honestly. All right, well, we do have more morale than they do, so that might work in our favor as well. We only need 742. They need 500, though, because we have less forces overall. Let's go ahead and launch the battle, because I still think this is the right move. And hopefully we can set this up. Okay, so we have our command vehicle that we have to deploy. That's the only one we have. And it looks like it is infantry as well. Let's go ahead and grab them and place them a little further back, perhaps. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of cover here. Now, they only have... Ooh, okay, so they could get across this bridge. So the two areas we have to defend are... It doesn't let me deploy down in this ridge. Oh, okay, no, we can't deploy there. Never mind. So probably we should deploy kind of in the middle here with what cover we have. I could deploy further back as well, but I think I'm going to go with this. Okay, so where we have to defend are these two bridges. That's going to be the main way that they can get across to us. And we're going to try and play defensive here. So I'm going to try and take advantage of the lower cost units that I have and the fact that we've got air power, they don't. So that's what we're going to go for. Let's start off with our infantry. And unfortunately, again, we don't have a lot of cover, so we're going to have to take advantage of what we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and grab platoon, and we'll put them here. We'll end up deploying them in the woods here. I could deploy them over here as well. That's not necessarily a bad strategy, because by the time the enemy gets out in a zone where they can see me, they'd have to go past this area. So we probably catch them here at close range, and we'd be able to hit them with our infantry weapons. We could put our vehicles here once we've deployed our infantry. So you know what? That's, I think, not a bad plan, because you know, they could deploy here right away, though. So I might not be able to pull that off in time. I still think it's a valid tactic, though. I'm going to try for it. So we're going to go with 2 platoons here. I'm going to try to set up the platoons of infantry here, and then I'm going to set my vehicles up here, and they should be able to use the range of the missiles to attack. So that's my idea for that side. Over here, we should probably grab these buildings, because that's going to be the main way that they're going to be able to use this bridge against me. There's no bridge to get over here, so I don't really have to worry about that side. I don't see any bridges up here, so just these 2 bridges. So as long as we can hold on to this, that would be pretty good. So again, we're going to go with 2 platoons, I think. So 1 there, and 1 there. I could grab a recon guy as well to give us some vision. How many recon do we have? We have 2 of these recon infantry. I think that's probably going to be the best choice for me. So we'll put 1 guy here, and we'll put the other guy with this group. So my initial strategy is we go into the woods, we hunker down, we bring their vehicles, once they've dropped up their guys, back over here. Here, we set up in these buildings to give us cover. And then we set up the vehicles. We could put them over here. We would be able to attack across the river at anything that's over here, maybe. Put them over here. Or we could set them up somewhere else. We'll figure that one out as we go. All right, so we still have a lot of points to work with. Maybe I should have gone with the other air power. We could get some support in the mortars. They would eventually run out of ammo, though, because we don't have anything else. I could get as many planes as I could possibly have as well at this point. With 400 points, I mean, even all 6, we'd still have a lot to work with. So why don't I grab at least 4 planes. Then let's take a look at some infantry here. So we could grab another platoon. I probably should have a backup platoon in case this gets overrun. Maybe put a platoon in here to defend this side. We could actually do 2 more platoons, I mean, with how much points we have. So we'll do 1 over here, and we'll do another one over here. That's all the infantry I have, so I guess that works out. And we should be able to afford 1 more plane. And then we can afford a recon. What else could we do? We could afford a single mortar just to give us some supporting fire. I think that'd probably be more valuable than anything else I could pull right now. There's a possibility I won't get any points after this point, so I may have to just make do with what I've got. And honestly, we've deployed most everything that I can deploy anyway. So let's go ahead and get a single mortar out here. And we'll put that just about with our guy here. The ranges should be close enough that we should be able to use that mortar if I at least remember that it's there. Okay, so I'm going to start this sucker up. We're going to go to very slow. And then I'm going to go to bullet time, and we're going to start asking these guys to go where I want them to go. So we're going to take these 2 infantry, tell them to go there, and we're going to tell this guy to go in here. The other infantry guy, I think we're going to keep along here. So we just go ahead and tell them to unload now. So we want to keep them with their range being short. Okay, over here, let's grab this infantry. We'll put them in this building. This infantry we'll put in this building. This infantry we'll put in this building. And I'll put the recon kind of in back right there. Okay, we need to have our command vehicle unload so that we at least capture the zone. And that is looking good. So let's go to very slow. And As a matter of fact, let's go to bullet time here. We can just start laying down some fire right now. So, where have they captured? And just start dropping napalm on them. Hold on. So I want to fire. I want that there. Okay, so I'm just going to lay down napalm. What we're trying to do is we're trying to hit their command vehicles. See if we can get them early. And then I'm going to do a similar thing over here. So just anywhere that's cover that they could potentially be hiding. Okay, these guys are still moving their spot. Okay, put these guys here. Put the infantry here. Okay, let's go to bullet time, just to make sure we're paying attention to what's going on here. So you are going to come up here. Okay, those guys are still on their way. It's good that these guys are amphibious. You know, I didn't really think about that. The enemy may be amphibious as well, so defending these two bridges might not be the right course of action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my infantry. And we're going to look to defend in case they do have these guys that can ford. So I'm going to put these vehicles over here. Now, I had planned with these guys, once we offload, which we're getting there. Once we offload them, I am going to... So we'll have you move up to here as well. So I'm going to move these vehicles in here. We're going to have these other vehicles, once they offload, we're going to put them in here to defend. And then these guys I'm going to have come back here. So we will defend this area. It won't be defenseless, let's put it that way. Okay, let's switch to very slow so we can at least get these guys moving where they're supposed to be. Okay, that's close enough for me. Well, you have the one unit over here. I don't know what he's up to. I think that's a little bit of a bug. Let's unload you. Unload you. Now let's switch to bullet time. Grab the vehicle. And as I said, I want them to come over here. And then these guys, they haven't offloaded yet. Let's grab this guy and put him here. So I forget, where was I telling the infantry to go? You know what, maybe I should keep them right where they are. In case, you know, things go bad. We could always have this guy come over and help out this guy over here. So we'd have the defense. Okay, how's our napalm drops going? We're dropping them off. That's going to be pretty flamed out. We're going to do that in other areas that have guys having captured areas. Okay, so you guys are still bogged down. Let's go to slow so we can get past that. These guys are going to take a while to get to where they need to be anyway. Okay, let's go to very slow. Still some time to take. We just need that one vehicle, really, honestly. Okay, so I think I made them move because they did lose that capture point for a second. Okay, you guys finally stopped being bogged down. I almost wonder if that one guy's bugged out. Okay, let's go to bullet time. Let's just tell these guys to offload. And then we'll go to very slow so they actually do it. Bullet time. Let's grab these vehicles and we'll tell them to go over here to help out, I think. And the infantry, just to make sure it's in the woods where we want it to be, we'll tell them to go here. Okay. These guys are still en route. That's fine. Let's just switch to very slow here. I want to get everything going perfectly. Okay, you are going to go here. Because we've got the infantry there. We've got this vehicle here. Then you're going to go over here to help out in this gap. Okay, and so now we're just waiting on our planes to rearm, refuel. And as a matter of fact, we can start unloading some of these guys. So you guys can unload. Go Go to very slow just so we can start getting these things happening. Unload. Load. You guys are more or less there. Unload. Okay, let's switch to bullet time. And as I said, we're going to have these vehicles come in to defend this quarter here. So you're going to go there. You are going to go here. And we could have one vehicle set up to help out in this sector. If I were to do that, maybe I set them up here. They may be able to hit the bridge area from that area. So, and then we have this one guy here. I'll set them up right about there. Hopefully we'll be able to tackle a lot of the different angles that are presented to us. Okay, I think that's enough setup. We should have everybody in the positions they need to be in. Now we really just need to wait for the enemy. And again, if they're going to sit back and wait for me, that's fine. We'll just hammer them with our... Oh, let's bullet time this. So we have our engagement already. Where are these missiles headed? Well, we can fire at these guys as they're sitting here. We can get out our napalm and hit these guys. Now these are anti-tank vehicles, so they may not be vulnerable to the napalm, but we might as well hit them anyway, in case they are. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure where those missiles are going. I don't think these guys can see each other. Either that or they've got better range than me, which I don't think is true. So it looks like it's just these guys against those guys. Again, the missiles, I'm not exactly sure where they're going. Let's speed this up. Okay, well that was where that was going. So unfortunately our artillery got knocked out right away. And we have more units showing up here. Our planes should drop napalm on them, so that's fine. I'm going to keep 2 in reserve just in case infantry actually show up. Okay, at the very least, why didn't our planes drop? For some reason our planes did not drop. Well, we're going to continue to do damage to these guys anyway, I guess. Maybe they didn't have enough clearance. That could be true. Okay, they are firing upon me. Hopefully that doesn't land. Fortunately, it didn't. Okay, well, that still worked out in the end, but... not a big fan of the fact that my napalm took so long to go off. So that is a little bit of a problem with things being as long range as they are. So I think at this point, we're going to start working to try and figure out where the command vehicle is over here. It's possible I killed the other one because they lost that zone. So yeah, we put down a bunch of fire. Yeah, that is a problem with our current setup. We don't have... it takes a long time to get around. Engage. I'm kind of bummed out that we lost our artillery so fast. This make me a little worried that they can see my infantry then. Maybe we should have these guys back off a little bit. Okay, here come our napalm drops. Now I'm just guessing where the enemy is over here. But napalm can be very powerful in that regard, allowing you to strike in places you don't really know for sure that your enemy is at. This is going to give me time to set up. And our planes need to rearm anyway, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and go to normal speed. We did a decent amount of casualties. As a matter of fact, we now are at an advantage as far as how many points we need. Now, we could go on the offensive here, but I really can't capture much of anything. I mean, yeah, I could capture Delta, but then we'd have to give up this, and that's not a deployment zone. So it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to go in there and capture that. So at this point, as I said, we're mostly just going to focus on trying to do casualties to my opponent. Okay, so we do have... Oh, okay, so we did maybe hit these guys where we wanted to hit them. Let's just keep pouring fire in here until we track them down. We could just take out all their command vehicles and get a victory that way, although I doubt that will work. They should have enough that they can put in reserve, but we've already knocked them off this one, so... We already have these guys back, so... I figure we just keep hammering these guys. Let's start going over at after Foxtrot, though. So I put one over there, put one over here in the buildings as well. See if we can track down. So yeah, see, we're knocking them out of their capture point. So they're having to move from the flames more or less. Because this is jungle, the fire does spread quite a bit. So that's good as well. And if they come after me, well, we've got a good defensive setup. We'll be able to knock them out. And I think we're just going to use our air superiority to its best advantage. Again, I'm upset that the mortar got knocked out so quickly, but we didn't take very many other casualties, and they lost a lot of their anti-tank vehicles. As a matter of fact, we knocked out 3 platoons at the very least. So, okay, I don't really know where their command vehicle is here. We didn't knock it off of its area yet. And as I said, the jungle will make these flames spread, so we might knock out their command vehicles just with that. Well, I figure we might as well just keep on these guys. So we'll put some flame there. I don't think we've caught the command vehicles over here yet, so let's keep hitting this. Let's hit back here, just in case it's back in the back corner there. Now, if I had had cluster bombs... Oh, here we go. Let's slow down. I think we have enough anti-tank defenses here that these guys are not really going to be too much of a threat to me. I mean, look at that. Those guys got annihilated so fast. The problem I have is just that it takes the bombs so long to... land that I'm not even sure I should worry about these guys. We do have maybe infantry over here, so let's start dropping some napalm on these guys here. Okay, I don't know if we're going to have the reach. Oh, no, they are far enough away that we are able to drop on them. So let's start getting our napalm in here. So I don't know if we've lost any units yet. We got the napalm right on them. Okay, so this was just at the perfect range. Hopefully that napalm doesn't spread. We should back off with our infantry just in case. Okay. Got another unit coming in. Now, the danger is that I will run out of ammo. Go bullet time here. I just have to watch to make sure that the fire isn't spreading in this jungle. I'm going to back these guys off quite a bit, because it looks like the flames are right here. I'm going to focus my napalm in a different area after this, though. We already almost have all the points we need. Here comes the napalm. Let's bullet time this. I was trying to redirect him. It's too late. He's already dropped his napalm. I actually wanted to redirect him after he looped around like that. It's going to land over here, though, so that's not going to be a threat to my own guys, I don't think. Okay, so this is spreading. We do not want to get caught with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and have my guys just back off, pull out. Have them cross the bridge. That may expose them to enemy fire. We'll have to see. Okay, we've got our napalm up again. So let's continue to stay on this. So we're hitting somebody over here. Let's see if we can get them. Yeah, so these guys are just adamant about coming in here and getting annihilated. These guys are hanging back. If they're going to stay there, we could napalm them. There's napalm right there. It's possible we knocked them out there, but might as well try. Okay, let's continue to try and figure out where these guys are. So I'll put some napalm there. Okay, that's just landing. Okay, we've got infantry in here. They're getting pretty heavily smacked around here. Okay, we only need 116 more points. Alright, so I don't really know where this command vehicle has gotten to, but we'll continue to drop napalm on them. Let's drop napalm here, just in case they're still loitering in that one area. Yeah, sometimes the AI does that. Looks like they are still loitering. Maybe not in the exact spot. We'll find out here in a second. Yeah, they were. We have some infantry coming up here. Now, if they do end up coming over here, we will be waiting for them. Infantry can't cross rivers maybe like these vehicles could. And we more or less force them out into the open. Okay, so our infantry is just getting to safety as we unfortunately did burn these jungle. Unintentionally, but, you know, things happen. We might as well avoid the casualties if we can. Okay, so I'm going to continue to hit this area over here. I don't know if we've hit over here yet. We are probably doing casualties just by dropping the napalm. Okay, we have some enemy there. Let's go to slow at this point. So we can see this guy, but we can't really do anything to him just yet. I can drop napalm, though, if he's content to stay where he is. I have a feeling he'll move by the time we get the napalm around to him, but if we end up getting a plane in here, I might just drop it there just as a thing to do. Okay, we do have one. Let's fire, put it right in this building sector. I have a feeling that it's too close range, so we're going to have to circle around here. But yeah, I think the napalm was the right choice for this battle. We have a real good chance of winning this one. Now, I don't think it will give us control of this sector necessarily, but... Alright. I think we continue to pour... Yeah, look at that. We just got a whole bunch of stuff over here. Let's go ahead and pour fire near that area. As a matter of fact, we just got a victory by putting fire in that one urban area. So, there you go. So, we gain 2 morale. They lose 1 morale. Let's see what happens. The battle stopped because the enemy lost all their thing. Our forces got a total victory because of the stuff. The enemy forces routed because they endured a total defeat. So they routed. So we pushed them out of here. We now have this zone. So that's good. Now they could counterattack us, of course. So that's something we have to keep in mind. And we can look at the casualties that they had here. So their anti-tank vehicles were entirely knocked out. That's good. As a matter of fact, we may have destroyed... I think it would tell me, though. But we may have destroyed their anti-tank unit. No, that's not true. They did have the infantry. They did have the anti-tank infantry, which I don't think we did any casualties to. But yeah, I mean, this is a lot of casualties here. We only lost a single vehicle. That's pretty good. I'll take that victory. And a lot of that was just air superiority there. But the downside for us is going to be when they counterattack, they're going to have a lot of air superiority. And this, unfortunately, is not going to be able to help me much because it doesn't have any real air-to-air capability. Yes, it has cannons, but that's about it. And these guys are going to have missiles and all kinds of stuff. So, well, in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.